Good morning, students. Today we are going to talk about teaching vocabulary. As David Wilkins says, without grammar, very little can be conveyed. Without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. If you travel to a foreign country, you will probably carry a dictionary and not a grammar book. That's the importance of vocabulary. One can never fully master vocabulary. All one can do is get some deeper knowledge of it. And Stephen Stroll states that vocabulary knowledge is knowledge. The knowledge of a word not only implies a definition, but also implies how that word fits into the world. What we learn about a word goes far beyond its form. Making connections between form and meaning is only one side of the coin. The other side is to be able to produce language using the correct form of a word in the appropriate context and for the meaning intended. In other words, knowing a word means to know its form, its meaning, its connotations, how it collocates with other words, and how it fits within a whole network of meaning. A dictionary definition states that vocabulary is the body of words used in particular language. However, this definition lacks some precision. What is meant by a body of word? Let's consider the following sentence. I like looking for bits and pieces like second-hand record players and doing them up to look like new. How many vocabulary items are there in the above sentence? 20, 90, or less? Will you count these as vocabulary items representing discrete units of meaning or as different words? Second-hand, record player, do something up, bits and pieces, look for. It's clear that the above example consists of discrete units of meanings. The idiom bits and pieces is a fixed expression. You can't change the order of words. For instance, you can't say pieces and bits. Similar, should we consider the phrasal verb look for as one whole unit of meaning or as two words? And what about this word, the word like? There are two instances of the same form with unrelated meanings. I like looking for bits and pieces, where like is the verb, and the second example, to look like new, where the like is a preposition. Let's take another word, keep. According to Longman dictionary, the verb keep has 19 meanings. Combined with other particles, as a result is a variety of phrasal verbs. As a noun, it has 2 meanings, and used in collocations, you can see the results here. Now, vocabulary is not only a body of single words. According to the lexical approach developed by Michael Lewis, vocabulary consists of single words, compound words, multi-words units or lexical chunks, collocation, or word partnership. Then, what about teaching vocabulary then? What is teaching vocabulary? Teaching vocabulary is the process of providing learners to store new vocabulary items in the long-term memory with meaningful activities, which helps the organization of the words in the brain. And how we learn vocabulary? Vocabulary learning can be incidental through indirect exposure of words and intentional through explicit instruction in specific words and word learning strategies. And how we remember words. There are 3 types of memory. And the first is short-term memory, working memory, long-term memory. The short-term memory holds vocabulary items in one's mind for a few seconds. These vocabulary items become part of the working memory once learners start manipulating and working with them through activities. Vocabulary items are stored in the long-term memory to become durable over time when learners repeatedly meet them in different contexts. To teach vocabulary, teachers should help learners acquire a critical mass of words for use in both understanding and producing language. Remember words over time and be able to recall them readily. Develop strategies to learn new vocabulary. And that vocabulary learning should be based on some principles. And here's the following principles of vocabulary learning. First is a repetition and multiply encounter. Not only memorizing words through repetition, but also repeated encounter of words. The second, cognitive depth. This refers to the manipulation of the words by learners. The decisions they make about the words are of paramount importance. Cognitive depth principles includes activities such as using a dictionary to look up a word, matching words with their synonyms or antonyms, identifying collocations, sequencing words, and so on. Effective depth. Learners don't need only cognitive information about words, but they also need to entertain some affective or emotional relationship with words in order to be memorable. For example, asking learners to choose a number of words from a text to write a story about themselves can lead to effective depth. Retrieval. The more one recalls a word, the more it becomes memorable. Recontextualization. Words have to be met and used to say new things in different contexts in reading, listening, speaking, and writing. And the next, personalization. Using the words learned to express personal experience. And the last principle of vocabulary learning is spacing. This refers to distributed practice. The interval between successive practice of a set of words should gradually increase. And we have some sources of vocabulary. Of course, textbooks, teachers, learners themselves, lists, dictionaries, books, short stories, and other sources of vocabulary. And what about stages of vocabulary teaching? We have 3 stages of vocabulary teaching. They are encountering, integrating, and producing. Encountering, teacher presents vocabulary items, or learners notice contextualized vocabulary items. Integrating, learners understand and manipulate vocabulary items. Tasks to transfer vocabulary to long-term memory. Producing, learners use target vocabulary in novel situation. And personalization. Now, the sequence of new vocabulary presentation can be in 2 different ways. The first way is first form, then meaning. That is, the teacher provides the word in a context and students notice how it is used and try to guess its meaning. And the second sequence of vocabulary presentation is first meaning, then form. That is, the teacher shows, points to an object, creates the need for the word, and then provides it. Presenting the meaning first, then form is a sequence that is probably appropriate when teaching vocabulary in a hurry, or when you want to teach perhaps a set of lexical items in an isolated section of the textbook. However, providing form first, then meaning is perhaps the best technique to guide learners discover meaning of vocabulary by themselves. Now, discovering vocabulary. Vocabulary can be presented by the teacher using realia, pictures, miming, definitions, or discovered by learners. Vocabulary is discovered by learners when teacher contextualize the vocabulary items, preferably in short texts. And now an example of the sequence of a vocabulary lesson based on guided discovery. And as we mentioned before, we have 3 stages of vocabulary learning. They are encountering, integrating, and producing, or productive stage, we can say. Encountering new vocabulary. First, at the presentation stage, or better at the stage where learners encounter new vocabulary items, the teacher provides contextualized exposure of these vocabulary items. This can be in written form or in spoken text. And the second, after quick comprehension activities, the teacher raises learners' awareness of the target vocabulary items and asks them to notice its form and use in that particular context. Next, learners make guesses about the meaning, and then the teacher then provides activities where learners match, select, or identify words with their definitions. And the next stage, integrating vocabulary. This stage involves practice activities where learners manipulate and work with the vocabulary items. In other words, they put vocabulary to work to satisfy the cognitive depth principles through activities such as sorting or categorizing the words under some headings, matching words with their collocates, sequencing a list of words according to certain logic, and so on. And the last stage is production, or producing stage. This is a stage where learners use the vocabulary items to talk about real things in their lives. Personalization of vocabulary items may lead some kind of effective depth. Teachers may ask their learners, for example, to choose a certain number of words from the text, and use them to talk about their personal experience or write a story about it. And these are discovering vocabulary, and as we mentioned before, vocabulary is discovered by learners when teachers conceptualize the vocabulary items in short text. And we see the example to this. And in conclusion, we can say that to show a language means to master its structure and words. With hundreds of thousands of words in the English language, teaching vocabulary can seem like a very daunting prospect. Remember that the average native speaker uses around only 5,000 words in everyday speech. Moreover, your students won't need to produce every word they learn. Some they will just need to recognize. Selecting what to teach based on frequency and usefulness to the needs of your particular students is therefore essential. Once you have chosen what to teach, the next important steps are to consider what students need to know about the items and how you can teach them. And this is the end of our today's lesson, and let's summarize it. Today we spoke about, first of all, importance of vocabulary, defining and identifying vocabulary, and we learn what is a vocabulary teaching, how we learn vocabulary. We spoke about principles of vocabulary learning, about sources of vocabulary. We gave example to stages of vocabulary teaching and in a sequence of vocabulary presentation. And at the next lessons, we'll try to speak about what are the techniques and activities for vocabulary teaching, and about what are the problems of teaching vocabulary. And here are some references which I used for my presentation. You can find them in an internet and read. Now, thank you for your attention. Goodbye.